everyone, it's Christina here. I wanted to thank you for listening and joining my podcast. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about Divinely Nourished. So if you follow me over on Facebook or even on YouTube or Instagram, you might know that I'm in the middle of writing a book. And the book that I'm writing at the moment is called Divinely Nourished. It has a course that goes alongside it, and so I'm launching that course at the moment. Starting on the 25th of November. So if you're keen to get in, now's the time to get in. This will be like the cheapest that it will ever be. And essentially you're getting like lots and lots of me for 3 months. So for 3 months, we're going to walk through the steps in my book. We're going to walk through the processes, the concepts, the ideas of the book in order for you to A, practice it out, but also for me to get the feedback from what I might need to tweak and change as I'm going through and writing those chapters of that book. So it's a little bit of a research project for me, as well as a beautiful way to kind of help and assist people on this journey of self-discovery. So Divinely Nourished came from this concept that I have around we're all interconnected. All the parts of us are interconnected. So our mind, our spirit, and our body is all interconnected together. We're not separate. There's not like this part is this box is spiritual, this box is physical, this box is emotional. We're not these separate things. We're a being that is intertwined with all of those things, and all of those things play out in all the areas of our life. And so when it comes to health, for me, it's about looking at all of those areas and seeing where they're dancing together and where they're twined together, but recognizing that you can't change one without changing the other. And I see it all the time like I say it all the time because I've done it myself. I've done it myself in my own life where I have tried, I wanted a specific outcome, so let's say it was weight loss. I wanted this specific outcome, so I do this diet. And then, I might get that specific outcome, or I might get close to that specific outcome, but then I go back to the way that I was eating before that. And then, of course, that weight comes back and you get extra when that happens as well. And I see that happening for my clients too. They're like, I know that this is a problem for me, and I know that I need to fix this, but what's not happening is that they're not changing their thought life. So they're changing their physical life, and what they're doing is bumping up against their old habits, they're bumping up against their thought processes, they're bumping up against the conditioning of the culture that they live in, they're bumping up against all of these things and wondering why they're failing, and they call it a failure because they don't realize that what needs to happen is all of those parts of them need to change as well. So what we need to change is the thoughts that create the patterns, that create the habits that we live our lives out of. And if we create the thoughts, and if we are willing to open ourselves up to seeing things differently than how we've previously seen them, then we're open to also changing the story and the narrative. We're also able to bring conscious awareness to why we do the things. And we get to move from this place of just kind of working out of our patterns and working more into our conscious choices, where we're consciously making a choice. Yes, this is something I want to participate in. This is in alignment with me and my values, or this isn't in alignment with my values. So I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to choose not to do that. And for me, as I've been working through my book, I've been exploring all these types of areas. I've been looking at, the conditioning prior to our birth. So what types of things did our parents go through that led them to make the decisions that they're making? And then what types of conditioning did you go through that led you to make the habitual and the social constructs? What ones were there that have led you to continue to create the patterns and do the things that you're doing? And it came through for me in this idea that people who were healing their gut would go through a phase where they felt like they were being deprived, I'm being deprived of food, when actually what they're really doing is the opposite. They're actually nourishing themselves with the best food on the planet. And it's just this mind shift that changes that for you. It's that shifting your mind from I'm being deprived, like what are you really being deprived of? If we boil it down, you're being deprived of sugar that's turning into alcohol in your body. You're being deprived of gluten and casein that are both being turned into opioids in your body as well. So are you really being deprived? If you're being deprived of like substances that are poisoning your body, is that real deprivation? When what you're really doing is eating the best food there is on the planet. And not only the best food that there is on the planet, but the best food that is for your digestive system at the moment. Because what we do when we're doing some gut restoration is that we might take out some foods that are absolutely healthy, beautiful foods. We might take them out for a time in order to allow the digestive system to restore and replenish. And we take those out for a time and then we bring them back in. But we can get into this phase of I've been deprived, and we only get into that phase of being deprived because of the conditioning that we've been receiving throughout our lives, that, you know, this is what food looks like, this is how this is meant to look like, here's all those things, these are the rules around everything, and we get used to those and we believe that that has to be the truth, when absolutely it doesn't have to be the truth. And you get to change all of that. You get to decide what's going to actually be appropriate for you and what's not. And so that's some of the stuff that I'm working through when I'm writing this book of, you know, divine nourishment, is looking at the mind. What is the patterns that have been passed down to us? The spirit. What parts of your spirit have been suppressed, hurt, or injured? And then how does that really relate to the body? How does that connect within the body? What's going on there? And the divine nourishment is about being divinely nourished in all of those areas and bringing our conscious awareness to the patterns that we've received, bringing our knowledge and our thoughts, and bring healing to all of those areas, not just one element of it, but all of those areas get to be nourished and get to be healthy and well. And what's happening in our spiritual is happening in our physical. What's happening in our emotional is happening in our spiritual and physical as well. Like, they're all intertwined. They're not separate like we have been taught to believe. And that's what the divinely nourished is all about. It's bringing it all together and recognizing that you're not a failure because you didn't, win on a diet. You're not a failure because you gave up on some of those things. What's actually likely happening is that you didn't change your thinking. And so you changed the habit, and your willpower was keeping that happening, and you were trying and you were striving and you were pushing hard to make that happen. But what you didn't do is change the thinking that drove the patterning. And when you start to change the thinking that drives the patterning, the actions that come out of that are more healthy and whole, and they're for you instead of against you. But we go even beyond that. We're looking also at the conditioning of what happens in our society. So we're looking at that treat reward sort of system where we're told that, hey, you're a good little girl, here, have a lolly. And what we're doing is, on the outside, we're getting this message that you're good. But on the inside, when we put that lolly in our mouth and it starts to turn into, its chemical counterparts that aren't really good for us, our neurology receives that information, that to be good is to have bad things. And so almost like the way that I want to talk about it is, it's like, here's the treat, like, I love you so much, here's some poison. I'm just going to give you a little bit of poison because I love you so much and you've been so good. You can have this poison. And I think that it's such a messed up, like, we've messed up the neural pathways on this, where we're teaching children that, they've done something that we want them to do, but we're going to poison them with food that's not great for them, food that's not actually a reward. And, let's together start to change this by bringing some conscious awareness to it, and then choosing, how do we want to implement this in our lives? And how has that patterning actually worked out in your own life? Like, how has it actually affected you? Like, has it led you and set you up for long-term health conditions? Has it done that? And it's not that your parents are to blame in the sense that they consciously chose to give you something that was going to make you sick, or consciously choose to continue that patterning that they had received. It's not that. It's just what it was, but now we get to make something different. We get to choose something different by bringing conscious awareness to some of the things that we've been taught, questioning them, challenging them, seeing if they hold volition and if we want to continue those into our lives. Because I know for me, I don't want to continue those for my children. I don't want to continue it in my life. I know when I sit back and I think about my own life through the eyes of a naturopath and I reflect upon it, what I see is that essentially I was set up in many ways for chronic health conditions. Like, I look back over the photos and I can even see the moments where I started to, develop like a thyroid condition, probably in around grade 5, 6. That was when I started to develop those thyroid type conditions, and I could see I was putting on weight, but nobody knew that. And the messaging that we get then is that you're eating too much food, you're lazy, you're this, you're that. And we end up with this social conditioning that then leads us to doing more things that are going to be negative for us. Like, my life is horrible because people are saying these nasty things about me, so I'm going to treat myself and reward myself, and I'm going to give myself these comforting foods with the sugar and with, the breads and the cakes and all of the things. You guys know what they are. I don't really need to tell you what they are, but it's that cycle, and then you end up gaining more weight and more shame and more stuff on top of it. And so there's this whole mess of conditioning that takes place that feeds into that. And I look at a lot of our children that are in schools today, and it makes me sad because I know that they're probably getting bullied. I know that they're probably not experiencing some of the joys that they should be experiencing as a child. And it's not because they're necessarily eating too much and they're being really lazy. Quite often it's because they actually have a health condition that has developed from some of this tribal conditioning that we've passed down, that, here's a treat, I love you, here's a reward, you need to have lots of snacks, and, food comes in boxes versus food comes from a tree or a plant or from the ground. I just look at it and go, it makes me really sad to think that they could have a health condition that could be corrected for them. And I've worked with a number of children where we've corrected their thyroid condition, and they're losing weight and they're feeling really good about themselves, and they've got loads of energy, and they're just feeling fantastic because we've corrected the thing that was wrong when it came to food. And we've started to change the messaging for them. Whereas, instead of having a lolly as a treat, what we're doing is we're looking at the nuggets that we've been given already, like the beautiful berries that are packed full of antioxidants that, help support free radical damage. And, we're looking at those and we're going, oh my gosh, these are magnificent, because we do the work of altering their microbiome so that they are tasting the beautiful food. And, if we're aiming for organic vegetables and fruits, the flavor is so different. At home at the moment, we're growing loads of fruit. I've got I think maybe at least 25 fruit trees, but also I've got lots of strawberries and raspberries. And my daughter picked one of our strawberries the other day, and as she picked it, she's like, oh look, it's so pretty. And then I said, well, go on, eat it. And as she ate it, she's like, oh my God, this is the most amazing strawberry I've ever tasted. And it was just a really, another one of those light bulb moments of remembering that real food tastes real good. And food that necessarily has got a lot of travel miles in it has also lost some of that flavor, because they have to pick it early in order to be able to ship it and travel it somewhere. So it doesn't get all the juiciness from the vine. And its vitamin C starts to fall down because of the travel time. And so, going outside and picking carrots from my garden and eating them, it's straight away is like a vastly different experience than, you know, buying carrots that have been grown in another part of the country and then eating them. They lose their flavour, the flavour changes. And so, you know, really embracing all of that stuff again. And so that's what Divinely Nourished is all about. It's like looking at the mind and what are the things that have been happening in our mindset. Where are the wounds in our spirit that need to be healed in order for us to create great beliefs that we can work out of? And where is the body in this? And how do we relate that to learning to nourish our body again and feed it again? And so I'd love you to join me in Divinely Nourished if you are feeling the call of this and you're feeling like this is something that you would love to be joining in on and doing. You're welcome to join me. It's $99 for 3 months. We're going to be doing a live training every week in Facebook, and then we'll have a live coaching call. So it'll be a group call together for 2 hours on a Wednesday night. So there'll be loads of stuff there. And if you do the work, you're going to find it amazing. And you can absolutely go over it and do it again and again and again. And, you know, it's for me, it's getting the feedback and getting, like, just wording things the right way I need to word them, seeing how I need to communicate that message really effectively in my book so that it can go out to the masses and help loads of women start to change this cycle, not just for themselves, like it is absolutely for them, so that they can put on their own oxygen mask first, but then it's also for them to start leading and guiding their families in creating new patterns. Like, and I think together as women, we have absolutely got the opportunity to change the world when it comes to this type of thing. You know, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, and we get to teach our families how to have healthy food habits, but not only that, healthy mindset, healthy spirit, and healthy heart. Like, all of you gets to be healed during this journey. Like, it's never ever been about just one element of you. It's always been about all of you, because there is not just segmented boxes of you. There is all of you, and all of you intertwines, and all of you dances, and all of you affects the other parts of you. And you have to look at all of them in order to create the results that you want to have. So I'll put in the show notes the link to come and join me. I would love to see you there. I'd love to have you. And, you know, if this is calling you and you want to be in, maybe share it with a friend, because you might have some friends that really need to hear this too. All right, that's it for me today, lovelies. I'll catch you next time. Bye for now. Have the most amazing day ever.